What is up, everyone? And with Arrow Season 5 actually premiering on the US, I believe on the 23rd of October, or whether that's the UK premiere date for Season 5, I have no clue. But because it's coming up in late October, I thought I would do a review for all four seasons of The Arrow that have aired so far. I'm actually in the process of rewatching all of them. I've just finished rewatching season one, and I'm currently about over halfway through season two right now as we speak. The reason I'm rewatching them is because previously beforehand I'd only watched all of the seasons once, so I want to watch them a second time, get in a better frame of mind for them, and then do the reviews like I'm doing now. So this is going to be my season one review, and before you all ask, this will be a non-spoiler review. Although for later seasons, which I am not too pleasant of, I will probably end up diving into spoilers. But hopefully for these first two reviews of season one and season two, there will be no spoilers. So you will be completely free to watch this if you haven't seen Arrow before. But what the hell are you doing? The first two seasons of this show are amazing. And so let's get into my season one review. So what is season one of Arrow? So Arrow centers around the character of Oliver Queen, who has been stranded on an island for 5 years after his boat, which had his father and an acquaintance of his, or slash lover, I will put it like that, basically gets destroyed, and he ends up shipwrecked on an abandoned island, and he ends up there for 5 years, and over the course of those 5 years, he ends up learning how to survive, by the teachings of several characters of who I won't spoil, because when their identities are revealed, it's definitely kind of a bit of an awesome treat. In particular, of course, if you are a fan of the DC Comics, you'll definitely recognize some of these characters. But he spends 5 years on the island, and when he's finally able to get off the island, he sets back to Starling City, his home city, of course, and he decides to bring a new form of vigilante justice in the form of the Arrow, or the Hood, as he's most commonly referred to in season one. And it reminded me a lot of Batman, and I mean, there are many similarities in this show in terms of its story between, obviously Batman, to be honest, because of course because in season one, Green Arrow isn't really the respected figure that you see him as in the comics. He's a vigilante. I mean, the police are after him. They don't agree with his methods, but over the course of the season, they of course end up doing so. And while Oliver Queen is back in Starling City, he tries to rekindle his broken, relationship with his ex-girlfriend who he cheated on, and he also tries to and he obviously hangs around with his best friend Tommy, and it's basically about him trying to kill these certain people who are in this booklet that his father gave to him before he died after the shipwreck. I won't say any more of the story because season one is a very story centered season of Arrow. This and season two are definitely like the most focused on the story, so I won't spoil too much as to what happens. But what I will say is that the story for this show is very, very good. And the best part of the story by far is the flashbacks, because if you didn't know, you don't just get to see the perspective of Oliver in the present day, but you also get to see segments of his 5 years on the abandoned island and how he ended up growing into the survivor slash fighter that he is today. And I thought these flashback segments were really cool, and in particular in like episode 14, for me they became like one of the best parts of the whole show. And it was awesome because not only were these flashbacks really epic, but they really gave us extra hindsight into Oliver's character and how much he changed, and rather speaking more precisely, how much the island changed him as a person. So the story is really, really good. And in terms of getting onto the other pros, first off, the action in this is really, really well done. Like, it's really, really, gritty and kind of realistic in the way the action is, but it's really good. And the fight scenes are very well choreographed and very well done. They're just epic to watch. And also, I really do like the tone of season one. Season one really did have this realistic and dark tone to it, because this is, like I said earlier on, this is not the Green Arrow that we know from the comics. Like, this version of Arrow in season one, he will flat out kill criminals because he is after this, he's after the people in this book, and he will go by any means to reach that goal, whether it means like killing a bunch of criminals. He does not care, because to him, it doesn't matter, because there is no way that the city can be redeemed without obviously committing sins. And it was just awesome to see him like this. And of course, by the end of the season, he does live to regret it, and I won't spoil how, but it was awesome to see that aspect of him, this more like unhinged and in a way inexperienced version of Arrow play out. It was actually kind of awesome. I also really liked the characters as well. I thought some of the characters were awesome, like Malcolm Merlin, the main villain. I thought was really, really good. How he was really well developed over the 23 episodes, and he was just an awesome villain, to be honest. Like, he was pretty epic. I mean, you had Tommy, who so obviously Malcolm Merlin's son, and he kind of seems like a stereotypical character at first, but then as the season progresses, he does become a lot more interesting, to the point where I think like the actor who portrays him gives a really good performance. And there are some others as well, but they were the two that really stood out to me. And also Laurel Lance, I thought she was good. Her character does get a lot of stick from some fans, but I didn't think she was that bad in season one. I mean, sure, there were some parts of the story that I didn't like, but I thought she was overall a good character. It was just, I felt season one was just really good because it really was engrossing, this dark superhero, TV series, because everybody talks about, oh, Daredevil was awesome, Daredevil season one, because it was so dark and gritty. This was kind of the show that served the formula for that, and I think without Arrow season one and season two, I don't think Daredevil would have probably happened, because this show is probably just as dark, maybe not as dark as Daredevil, but definitely up there. But this first season does unfortunately have some shortcomings, and there are quite a few. I wouldn't say they're massive ones, they didn't bother me that much, but there were a few nitpicks that I did have with the first season. An issue that I had early on was I kind of wasn't a big fan of Stephen Amell as Oliver Queen. I didn't really buy into the fact that he was able to portray, the three sides of Oliver Queen. There's the Oliver Queen in the public eye, the Oliver Queen when he's in the mansion by himself with his friends, and then there's him as Green Arrow. And I didn't really feel like he was able to convey some of those aspects of the character that well. But I will admit, as I watched the season further on, he did become a lot better, and in season two, he is so much better as the character, in my opinion. I feel like he kind of embodied the character more as the show went on, which is only a good thing. Another problem I did also have with Arrow is that in some elements it does kind of feel like it's ripping off of Batman. That's a major criticism I always hear of the show, is that it's just a direct rip-off of Batman, and it does feel like that at certain points in season one, and to be honest with you, it feels like that with most points in all of the 4 seasons, but with season one it was noticeable in some areas, to be completely honest. But I didn't think it was awful, but it was just that I could clearly tell when these moments were happening, and I'd just be watching it on screen, and it'd be like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember seeing this beforehand, off of Batman or like some Batman related media, but really that's it. They're like the only 2 problems I have, and they're not really that big because they only really happened at like the start of season one, because by the end of then they're completely gone. Like the second half of season one is by far the better half. It was just awesome, that segment was, and when they're leading up to the whole like the Glades story part, it was awesome. It was really good. So that wraps up my review for Arrow Season 1. If I were to give it a rating, I'd probably give it a 9. I really did like Season 1. It was really good. I went into it with mild expectations. I thought it was going to be good, but I didn't expect it to be this good. I mean, it was awesome. I'm pretty sure I binge-watched it when I first watched Season 1. I'm pretty sure I completed it in like 7 days. I managed to binge-watch Season 1 on my rewatch in, I think, like 3 days. So, yeah, doing pretty well. It shows how much I enjoyed it, and yeah. Definitely 9 out of 10. Really good season. And yeah, definitely recommended. So thank you all for watching the video. I would recommend also that if you do plan on buying Season 1, I would highly recommend you get Season 2 afterwards, because Season 1 does end on a cliffhanger, and it kind of does directly lead into Season 2. So I would say if you're going to get Season 1, get Season 2 as well, because they kind of like co-enjoin with each other really well. But with that being said, hope you enjoy the video, and yeah.